Best of r/entitled parents episode 170. Subscribe for Reddit videos daily. This happened when I was about 7 and my parents had arranged a birthday party for me. I had misbehaved and was sitting on the naughty step eating some cereal when a car pulls up on the driveway. I recognize my classmate, and she gets out of the car and waltzes in. I had just moved continents and my family was new to the country, so they were trying to get to know people and make some friends. My mom arrives home from the balloon shop about 10 minutes after EK1 arrives, explaining that the EPs had called and said we are dropping off our angel 20 minutes early. When they arrived, there was no greeting. She just got out of the car and it speeded off to who knows where. I had taken EK1 up to my room, where I was showing them my Lego, but then other people started to arrive and my mom asked us to please come down for the party. My dad was setting up the nail polish when EK1 strolls up to him. "You're gonna be painting our nails, old man? You're so weird." This was before the helpers arrived. There were some nice middle schoolers down the street from us. My dad said no, he was helping set up and told her not to be mean. EK kept insisting that she took some of our classmates up to see my Lego, by which point I had told EK1 to stop, which they didn't. Meanwhile, my mom was busy comforting one of my classmates whose parents had disappeared without saying anything, who was bawling her eyes out. EK2, that's another story. The party goes on, we do some games, eat some lunch, and people start leaving. We find EK1 in my room with EK2 of course, playing with my Lego. EK2 leaves, then EK1's parents arrive. They had a shaky first impression on my parents, but they wanted to get to know them better. The ED was the only one who got out of the car, and my dad walked out to greet him, sticking his hand out to say hello. The guy literally shoves him out of the way and retorts, "Please, out of my way, I have places to be." Funnily enough, the family left. I was at an international school at the time, so families leaving was pretty common. Without much warning, presumably, the guy got fired for being an Me and my family look back on this day and laugh. I am now in yet another continent. People are less entitled here. TLDR, entitled kid literally struts into my house, shows no respect to my family or my stuff. My dad tries to be friendly with the people but they apparently have better things to do than shake my dad's hand. Thanks for reading till the end. Thank you. Next. Not sure if this belongs here but I think it does. Please enjoy this story of the most entitled person I've ever had the pleasure of seeing in action. I, F17 at the time, work at an old country pub with a big function room and bar etc. It's really popular, especially with weddings, which are brilliant to work but always extremely busy. A while ago I was working one particular wedding which had a huge buffet available and they'd also brought a little sweet shop stall and a donut wall, really cute and clearly cost a lot of money. In comes EM, the owner's best friend, and her 2 kids who were known to the pub and definitely not well liked among the staff. Not judging anyone's parenting style here, but EM would regularly get hideously drunk and keep her children in the pub till late and demand food after the kitchen is closed. EM noticed the wedding party going on in the function room and said she wanted to go up there. In my rush of getting drinks I told her she couldn't as it was a private party. Obviously this delightful woman didn't listen to me and I found her and her kids sitting at the top bar about 10 minutes later. They weren't doing much harm so I just left it as I didn't want to cause a big issue. That is until I saw them on the dance floor basically gate crashing the wedding. It really was a situation where the staff members couldn't get involved without causing a scene. Their behavior just got more and more bold through the night. This included them getting plates of food and taking the remainder of the donuts from the wall. At this point my manager came to ask them if EM knew the couple and they said it was okay for her to be doing this. She then began loudly causing a commotion and saying that it doesn't matter and just to leave her and her kids alone. Which we did to just shut her up. The cherry on top of the cake is that at the end of the night, where people were either leaving or strictly drinking water, EM goes up to the sweet stall and begins emptying each of the sweet jars into the bags to take with her. I genuinely couldn't believe her and just stood there watching the genuine balls this woman had. At this point the mother of the bride came over to ask what was going on, in which EM replied that it was for her kids and it's not like she was going to take them home anyway and to mind her own business. At this point my manager stepped in and asked EM to leave and leave the sweets. Not the most exciting ending, but EM is definitely not welcome anymore, which is always a bonus. but I will miss seeing how genuinely entitled some people will always be. Thank you. Next. After 4 long days and accumulating 330 karma, I can finally post this. Okay, before we get into the story, I want to say I'm on mobile and this is my first post ever on Reddit. So I apologize in advance for unspelling or format mistakes. I felt like this was the best place for this post, but if there's a better place for it, please tell me and I'll fix it. Been reading/listening to a lot of stories from this sub, so I was itching to post this. Alright, now onto the stories, which requires a bit of background. Sorry, I'm male, average sized, and 16 at the time of writing this. But this particular incident happened around when I was in 6th or 7th grade. My mom, my 2 sisters and I live right down the street from my grandparents, like not even a 5-minute walk. We have been since I was in 1st grade because my parents split when I was relatively young. My mom had to work late to support for the 4 of us. I want to say now my father is in the picture and always will be. I consider him to be my best friend. Anyways, my grandma would watch us during the days most of the time, but sometimes she wouldn't be there when we got home. She had to work, so it was understandable. So my mom ended up becoming good friends with my neighbor who she trusted with us and would ask her to watch us and would pay her for her time. Which my mom stopped doing for a plethora of reasons, which I'll probably say in a different post, and we were advised to stay clear of her, her son, and her eldest daughter. This story takes place after a lot of previous incidents. Okay, sorry for the long background. Onto the story. Characters will be me, or is it you? Kid 1, neighborhood friend. Kid 2, neighborhood friend. EB, entitled BTCHED, entitled daughter ES, entitled son GFD, good for nothing dad, there's not mine. Cop 1, normal cop. Cop 2, awesome cop. Grandma, one of my favorite people. Alright, finally. So a few years ago, some friends I had in the neighborhood finally coaxed me out the house to hang out outside. I was reluctant because I had a feeling that if I did, something would go wrong, mainly because my neighbor's usual antics. Give or take an hour or so, we've played a bit of basketball, tag, etc. We're all starting to feel a bit tired and decide playing football in the shade would be the relaxing. We weren't really playing football, more like throwing the ball to each other. All of us are chilling and having fun, making jokes while throwing the ball, when I get a feeling that someone's watching me. Me, who started becoming the anxious person I am now, started darting my head in different directions. Then bam, my eyes lock onto EB, ED, ES, all staring at me and my friends. I learned at a very young age that nothing good comes from interacting with dumbasses. So I go back to the game and alert everyone to just stay chill. Once I say that, everyone slowly turns their heads to look at the weirdos staring at a group of kids. There were like 5-6 of us. I only labeled the 2 that said anything important. Once they notice we've seen them, they go inside for like 5 minutes later. EB then come back outside waving a phone and screaming at us. EB, keep that effing ball away from my effing car. Mind you, we are standing in front of my house and they parked their car in front of my yard. Now feels like a good time to mention our houses were on the bottom of a hill, so they parked almost in the road in front of my house. Me, who can tell how this could go with one word, says, okay, sorry, like the good kid I was or think I was. Hell, I barely remember my exact words because it would have went the exact same if I stayed quiet. EB walks back inside and all is well. Yeah, number. We're throwing the ball when one of my friends drops the catch and the ball flies towards her car. We're all like, oh shit, here we go again, but since we were playing with an American football, it bounces in weird ways, so instead of hitting the car, it bounces right next to the tire and into my front yard. I go to retrieve the ball and I do, but on my way up the hill, ED walks out the house on the phone with the police. Like, WTF, I completely understand that it could have looked like it had hit her car, but come on, that's just BS. ED is on the phone like, hello, I want to report a group of black boys, yes, she emphasized black, for throwing a football after I told them to leave 10 times. Which isn't true. I go to my friends who has also heard this because she deliberately talked loud enough for us to hear, probably to scare us. They are starting to get worried, which I was too, but for a young kid I knew a lot about how cruel the world really is. If we ran home, it'll just make us look guilty. So I told everyone to wait till the cops get here and we'll explain everything, which we all agree on. About 10 minutes later the cops show up and we're still playing in the same spot, while EB, ED, ES, GFD all sat there and watched us. Cop 1 goes to EB and her party of meaner words, while Cop 2 comes over to us and asks what's going on. The convo went something like, Cop 2, hey guys, what seemed to be the problem? Kid 1, we've been throwing the football then they started staring at us. Kid 2, yeah, we have all just been playing to ourselves not messing with anyone. Cop 2, really? Well EB and ED are saying you guys hit her car? Kid 1 and I both know the ball bounced near her car into my yard. We kinda motioned the ball pattern then pointed where it landed in my yard but Cop 2 got the gist of it and nodded. What was cool was he asked if he could play while he waits for his partner to finish up. Not too clear what was going on over there, it was out of earshot and I was preoccupied. All of us kinda say yeah sure at somewhat of the same time. We played a small mini game of Moss, which is just see who can catch the ball over each other. Then Cop 1 motions to Cop 2 it's time to go, he waves. We wave back and they leave. Not a very exciting story, no big endings, not much dialogue, and whatnot. I just thought it'd be a good starter story for Reddit. This is just one of the many stories I have of this women, probably some better suited for this sub than any other one. But thanks for reading anyways if you do like it. OPS. After this we all went home where I told my grandma who after calling EB and ED some names told me because this isn't the first time she called 911 over something so minor she most likely got her number blocked. Quick little edit. So I noticed that this doesn't really show how entitled this family was. Damn. Well to sum it up they thought they controlled the neighborhood. They, EM, tried to force dumb rules on other people's children and when they wouldn't comply she would scream at little kids and make them cry. And on some scenarios this she'd call the police. I'll probably write more about this on a different post, but I wanted to clear any future confusion if it was brought up. Anyways later and if you're reading this you're pretty epic. Another lil edit. So this hit 250 upvotes. And is on the hot page I'd rock if this counts as semi-popular but I don't care just figured I'd say thanks. Thank you. Next. My mum has epilepsy so she uses that as an excuse for everything that includes being a slut. She always gets deliveries and often eats junk food. Yesterday my mum wanted KFC but couldn't get one and now she's yelling stuff like people are just using quarantine as an excuse to have things delivered. Help me. Thank you. Next. English is my first language and I am not on mobile. Let's get started. This took place other week ago. I recently received from my school a ed card to buy food, mainly groceries. I decided to head out and buy some stuff, mainly because I was running low on food at home, and my parents didn't get paid until Friday. I asked my mother to drive me to the nearest store, as I didn't have my driver license at the time. When we got there, it was very empty. Which is strange, because the corona pandemic made the stores at the beginning packed as hell. I was getting a few things, maybe more. Then I realized it was Mother's Day coming up. My grandma is very old, and is vulnerable to the virus, so she stays inside all the time now. I decided to get a few things for her, mainly butterscotch candies, a card, and a llama. She loves llamas. Then the commotion happened. You see, if you go into some stores, they require a mask on. This one I went to makes you wear it. This is where entitled mother, EM, and her pure husband, PH, and OK son, OS, come in. The lines were long though due to rules. As I waited to get to the front, I feel breathing on my back. It was EM, not abiding rules at all. I turn around to ask her not to be so close, when I realize she's not even wearing a face mask, while PH and OS are. This is where the trouble starts. OP, me, excuse me mom, but could you back up? There are rules in the store, which one of them is to stay 6 feet apart from the other customers. EM signs and says, does it look like I care? These rules are over exaggerations and won't work anyway. OP, there are rules for a reason. And where is your face mask? It's required to be in here. As I said that, EM went off and off about how she couldn't breathe in them. How itchy they were, but the one that took the cake was she said corona is a lie by the government. All you people are acting like it's real. This made me furious. Before I could say anything, EM looked at me. Currently, I'm 16 and still in high school, junior to be exact. I'm not even that tall, so I could be mistaken for a younger kid. Also, I learned how to shave so I look like a baby face. Where is your mother? Why did she leave a child in the store? OP, Mom, I'm 16. I can also be by myself in the store. No you can't. You don't even look 16. You're not 16, you're 11 years old. At this point I was confused. I might look that age, but I don't sound like an 11-year-old at all. Sure, my voice cracks from time to time, but I sound 16. It was at this point her hubby spoke up. Leave this teen alone. He is clearly 16 and I've asked you to obey the rules while we are out. We already got kicked out before, remember? And corona is real. Shit went down from there. Furiously stops her feet like a 2-year-old. No it's not. I'll prove it. She proceeds to grab me by my shirt and tries coughing on me. She got 1 or 2 on me before I had enough. When I was younger I used to wrestle. I wasn't very good, but I learned to protect myself. I proceeded to shove her off as she fell to the ground. Then she saw my shirt. It was from Hell, Michigan and said we all belong in hell. It meant for LGBTQ+. When saw it she freaked out. You're a faggot. Help, he assaulted me. A fag raped me and touched me in my no spot. OS was just watching, like this happened before, and said, Mom stop it. Wasn't having it. Just then, an employee came over. Before we continue, my family has been a customer there for a long time, so we knew a lot of people. Some had quit before the pandemic though, including the manager. So it was gonna be harder to explain my side of the story. Employee, sir, I heard the commotion. Is everything okay? OP, well I was. This boy raped me and assaulted me. Kick him out. Mom, stay out of this. I'll get your side of the story in a bit. Turns back to me, now what were you saying? I explain my story, as is pouting and trying to interrupt more. Once I was done he turned to and asked her side. Made a fake story of how I raped her in front of her husband and son while they watched in amusement, and I proceed to beat the shit out of her. Then said the famous line, I want to speak to your manager. Nodded and on a walkie-talkie asked for the manager. The manager looked like a Karen and seemed to be one. Arsehole fake manager, what the fuck is it? I'm on my break. Explains what happened to AFM. Looks at like she was the victim. Mom, is this true? Yes, it's all true. Looked at me, up and down, then grabbed my arm tightly, like her nails were needles. Come with me, you little dickhead. If it wasn't for OS and PH, I would have been dead. OS spoke up and said, wait, why don't we check the recordings? Because women are always right. Men are pigs. You should know that. Come stain. PH, don't ever talk to my son like that again. What are you going to do? Assault me? Was right. She could make up a lie and this would be worse. Luckily, real manager, came out. What is going on here? He looked pissed, and saw me. My arm looked like it was bleeding, mainly because of AFM's sharp as fucking knives nails. Let go of him now. No. He assaulted and raped her. Do you know that for sure? Where's your proof? Spoke up, we don't need any. Women are always right. Men are pigs. Wasn't having it. He was pissed. I'm going to check the recordings and see what happened. and AFM tried to stop him, but couldn't. After watching them, I was in the clear. My arm hurt though. As I finally got to check out, and AFM were together trying to stop me from even leaving the store. Thanks to RM and the others, I got out there. I was given for troubles by OS's phone number, to stay in contact with them. I'll update you if anything happens. Thank you. Next. So because Australia is coming slowly out of lockdown, people think right away that means life has gone back to normal. I, however, try to remain within the distancing laws and try not to do the wrong thing. Yes, I know I shouldn't be going out, but I did have to get some essential items, other than the things I got below. So I was at the checkout in a store, buy some toys and a wool coat for my dog because he is a good boy and it's winter now. Now I'm standing in the marked spot for checkout when behind me I see a wild Karen, who surprisingly looked nothing like a Karen, walk up right behind me with her kid, who was about 7. I turn around and say, "Excuse me, can you both please stand back? Social distancing." This sets her off and she goes, "How dare you tell me what to do? You're a child." I'm 21, but I do look young, and should listen to what I say. Who do you fucking think you are talking out of term? Children should be seen and not fucking heard. Saying this whilst looking at her kid, I just turn around, roll my eyes and sigh. I see the kid has his head down, looking embarrassed. Poor thing. An idea then pops into my head. If she won't step back when I ask her nicely, I'll make her step back. So I start purposely sniffing my nose, very loudly, and start coughing and wheezing like I'm carrying the plague. I then see the Karen scoff out a yuck and step back far enough to maintain the 1.5 meters distancing. I turn around and smugly look at her with a "you better step back bitch" look. She keeps her distance from me the entire time in line for checkout. Didn't expect this post to get such a good response. Thanks everyone. Also to the awesome person who gave me silver and the other awards, you made my day. Thank you. Next. This was on my little brother's birthday, the 17th of April. Me and my mom were at Walmart picking up a cake for everyone to have and a small personal one for him to eat to himself. After grabbing things like groceries, the cake, and a box of diapers, me and my mom decided to grab him this robotic dinosaur toy as another birthday present. BC his dad, who was deported out of country before quarantine was put in place, had managed to send my mom some money and said to buy him something from his dad. As we're going through the aisles, I stopped BC. I wanted to grab a pack of trading cards for myself when I see a Bulbasaur plush. Last one, sitting beside 2 Squirtle and a Pikachu. I was paying for my own stuff so I didn't ask my mom if I could have them or not. Going back to join her, we grab the Dino toy and few more quick things from the pharmacy. We go to self-checkout and I decide to go to one and buy my stuff quickly so I can help my mom out with the heavier stuff in the cart. I scan the Bulbasaur first and put him in my bag before scanning the cards, a drink, and some candy. I'm about to put my money in to pay when I notice his small child is looking into my bag. I didn't care if it was just that he happened to be really pale or if he was sick, but I wasn't gonna take my chances since I'm higher risk. Only there BC my mom jacked up her shoulder and can't lift heavy things. I swipe my bag away from him and shove my 20 into the machine, asking him very nicely to go back to his parent. He looks at me and says, "You got the Bulbasaur." They only had Pichu and the turtle in the aisle. "Could we please trade?" I already got the turtle but I don't like Pichu much. I didn't even get to speak because as soon as he stopped speaking his mom started, "Just give him the damn toy. You're like 12. You don't need a fucking plushie." He asked, "Now give." I looked at her before speaking in a tired tone. "Mom, I am 17 years old, and I do not think you speaking to me like that. You should learn some manners and be a better role model for your child." He had asked me already to trade the plushie. I get cut off. "Oh, shut up already and give my baby the toy. I don't care how old you are. I'm an adult and you're just a child." My mom's looking ready to murder. I send her a quick text in my hoodie pocket that, thanks to autocorrect, said "let Key handle it." Turning to the kid, I ignore his mom for a minute as I talk to him. "Sorry kiddo, but I wanna keep the Bulbasaur. How about I give you some candy for asking nicely instead of trying to take it?" I handed him a bag of M&Ms I had planned to eat on the car ride home and he seemed content, telling his mom he wanted to go as I turned and walked to my mom and grabbed the heavy stuff for her. The EM comes over, barely says "excuse me," and my mom whips around, nearly hitting the poor boy with her long braid, freaking Rapunzel looking hair she's been growing out since she was a child, and says, "You better be over here to apologize to my son for being a little bewitch, and not be trying to take something he bought with his own money." Now, I can't remember the argument as I tuned it out. Pretty sure the kid did too. See, he was happily eating M&Ms. But it ended quickly as I just finished scanning everything and put myself between the two and said, "I get the adults are almost screaming at each other, but can you at least pay so I can put everything in the car? The ice cream's gonna start melting and you left your youngest two with your sister." Reluctantly on my mother's end, me and my mom started to leave and the kid comes up and happily chirps, "Thank you. Emma, tell daddy I was a good boy and asked nicely, and I'll make sure he knows mommy was a meanie." On the car ride home my mom cussed up a storm about that woman and I chugged some Coca-Cola and wondered how the dad was gonna react to his wife being a beanie according to his son. My little brother shoved his face into his cake and more so demolished it instead of ate it.